With the death of Mitch's bill today in the Senate, is there help for rent aid coming, and how soon will it come? Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoons LALATE, part of our 2-hour programming block every day here on LALATE. It starts at the check at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time, then goes to hazard pay, then then FPUC, and then finally rent this video. Part of our 3.5-hour programming block every day here on LALATE. If you like this video, certainly like it and hit the subscribe button as well. Big developments minutes ago as Mitch's bill died in the Senate. So now there are questions about what is the future of rent aid. As you know, Mitch's bill did not have rent aid in it, and Nancy Pelosi's HEROES Act does. So is there hope for rent aid, and when would it happen? As we sit here tonight, the following is the current situation. No less than a week ago, Steve Mnuchin, Treasury Secretary to Donald Trump, and Mark Meadows, Chief of Staff to Donald Trump, said that what's going to happen is that this bill would pass both houses of Congress within 1 week, and then shortly thereafter, they would get to other issues that are important that need to be addressed, like rent. Well, yesterday when Mnuchin was asked about what's going on later this month and what are his other priorities, he was asked whether there would be a third stimulus package to deal with things like this in the coming weeks. His response was, I don't really know. Maybe not. Maybe not. You just told us for 2 weeks that you're getting to these other things like rent aid after this bill, which is now dead. So will there be a third stimulus package after the failed second stimulus package in the coming weeks to deal with rent? By all accounts, no now. It's very troubling as we sit here tonight to wonder where is the path to getting rent aid, and I'm talking about rent for money for your rent and money for your utilities after we're told it would be dealt with later this month. Now, the situation is very fluid, and certainly, we could wake up 2 hours from now and hear that Steve and Nancy are back to the negotiation table, or that Mitch and Nancy are negotiating, or that Donald Trump has agreed to do this and that and those and thems. But no one's talking. At the moment, we're getting a lot of stories about things that are going to happen and will happen, but never do formulate into something happening. But for purposes of rent aid, what's important for you to understand and be advised about and be alert about right now is that currently, as we sit here on a Thursday afternoon, no path to getting you rent aid from the federal government currently. So what you need to do is to be looking at your state and local government and see whether they have rent aids in process. I've been talking about this for a while, but I haven't been talking in the last 7 days, so I need to run this video for you. State and cities have money from the first stimulus package. It's a lot of money. And with that money, they were supposed to disperse it to the citizens of their city or state or county for purposes of rent. And a lot have. Some are starting to, some are currently doing it, and some are still about to do it. To find whether there's a rent grant in your area, you need to go on Google and Google your city's name, your county's name, or your state's name and add the word rent grant, G-R-A-N-T, as they slowly build a coffin for Mitch's bill over there. That's what you need to look for because it may be out there. What happens is a lot of these programs are not well publicized. There was a person here in Southern California who appeared on the local news last night, a city leader, about their grant program that no one applied for, basically. And she's like, people, you need to apply for our grant program. People just don't know these things are out there, generally, and they don't know that they can apply. Understand that most grant programs are not open to everyone. They're usually restricted to people who qualify for a stimulus check based upon economic levels. So if you made $250,000 last year, don't think you can get a rent grant. It's not going to happen. But if you qualified for a stimulus check the first time around, or were qualified for one the second time around, you're likely qualified for a rent grant if it's in your area. These rent grants are first come, first serve usually, so it's important to get your application on file and get it on file quickly. Landlords are a whole other issue, and some may cooperate and some may not, but ultimately it's the grant that's important for you to get. As we sit here today, it's wondersome what's going to happen. Because, for example, the day started with a big new report out on CNBC that said in New York, it's currently having its worst vacancy rate ever for apartments ever since they started reporting the data, upwards of 20-something years. People are leaving apartments in record numbers because they can't make rent. This is despite the fact there's an eviction moratorium in place for the CDC. This is despite the fact that the eviction moratorium protects some millions of Americans from being evicted. People are just leaving because they can't afford the rent. The problem with eviction moratorium for purposes of rent is that ultimately the rent is eventually due. And that current due date, if you look at the CDC order, is effectively January 1st, 2021. In the middle of the winter, in the middle of the snow, you could be evicted if you don't have all the rent due by that day. So that's why rent grants are so important. Also, mortgages are important. Are you able to make your mortgage payments? And I've detailed to some regard, and I haven't been able to do it as much as I would like to, that the CDC order is not comprehensive enough to really give the protections of mortgage owners as much as they thought it would. We were told the CDC order was going to give a mortgage forbearance to people who own their property as a residential capacity. It appears that it does not. So you need to look at the CDC order if you own your own home and you're worried about being foreclosed upon, or you own your own apartment building and you're worried of losing it to the bank. You need to look at that CDC order because it may not apply to you. There is some slight good news in all this today, which is a record number of borrowers can now save on mortgage refinances. The average rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage fell to 2.86 for the week ending, down from the previous week of 2.93 and down from 3.56 a year ago, according to Freddie Mac. Mortgage rates have hit another record low to the late summer slowdown in the economic recovery, says Sam Cater. There's now 19.3 million borrowers who could save on their money, according to a new CNBC report citing Black Knight, a mortgage technology and analytics firm. This is great news for some, but who can qualify? Well, if you have a mortgage already, you probably have a decent credit score. But the report says that those with the best credit scores, like 720 or higher FICO, and more than 20% equity in their homes, are the best to get these better, improved lower rates. It's the largest volume ever reported and represents 43% of 30-year mortgages. The savings are very significant if you could get this right away. You could be saving $299 million a month. Yeah, it's one of those days. You could be saving $299 a month and an aggregate savings of upwards of $5.8 billion per year across the entire industry. 32.4 million borrowers, or 3 out of 4 homeowners, now have a rate that's a little bit higher than what's currently available. So they're saying almost 75% of mortgage owners could qualify for this better situation, $300 a month. That's really good news. So as we sit here tonight, where will rent aid come from? The situation's ever changing, and I'm certainly here for you, but rent aid for purposes of federal order does not seem happening. Could the president issue a rent aid executive order to provide you relief very quickly and very soon? He absolutely could. Is that really on the list of items that he wants to do? No. Is stimulus checks and FPUC or LWA before that? Yes. So would you ever see rent aid from the federal government? As of today, we don't see the path to getting it. Could you see it from your state or local? Absolutely. But it depends on where you live and whether the program's still open and whether you should go apply. Lastly, understand that there are other instruments out there that could give you relief, and I don't often explain them in coupling them with a rent video, and I forgot to do that, so let me go over it. EIDL loans do apply to people who have residential properties for purposes of income and have lost income during the pandemic. So if you're watching this video and you have, let's say, a house. Well, let me give examples. Ultimately, you have to make a determination whether you're eligible or not. But if you have a house and you would do it as Airbnb and you will report that income on your 2019 tax return as income, and you've lost income because of the pandemic by renting out your house, you can go apply for EIDL loan based upon the amount of income you made on Airbnb in 2019. That's the first example. If you have an apartment building and you are not getting the rent from your tenants because of the lockdown or because of the pandemic, and you've had a loss of rental income compared to 2019, you can go get a loan from SBA EIDL loan potentially as well. The loan will be calculated based upon your 2019 earnings, gross revenue, did I say earnings? Based upon your 2019 gross revenue on your reported tax return minus cost of goods sold divided by 2. So here is an example. I actually did this one for one viewer upwards of about a month ago, and he got his loan with me approved within 24 hours. He had an Airbnb business. He did report his Airbnb business in his 2019 tax return. He did report it on his Schedule C. So he absolutely did every single thing correctly. Is an individual tax return with a Schedule C for Airbnb. So I said to him, what is your Airbnb gross revenue? It had a number. It wasn't an enormous amount of money. I mean, it's Airbnb. It's not, tours of the Temple of Doom. It's, it's Airbnb money. So I don't know what it was. Let's say it's $10,000. $10,000. I said, what was your cost of goods sold? I can't remember if he had any. Again, this would probably be costs of sales rendered as well. That could be advertising fees or internet connection fees or things like that. And he gave me the number. Let's say it was $2,000. Okay, $10,000 cost of gross revenue minus cost of goods sold, $2,000, $8,000 divided by 2, $4,000. That was the number. He put in the gross rev, he put in the cost of goods sold. We all both understood that he was going to get that number, which I just told you, which is about $4,000. I'm just using the numbers as hypothetical. I can't remember the exact numbers because it was about 2 months ago. And literally the next morning he woke up and he had approved a loan exactly for that amount. So what you need to understand is that if your residential operation is also an income producing business, go get yourself an EIDL loan if you lost residential income, but also look at the qualifications and eligibility concerns that SBA details for you as well. A lot of stuff to remember there, and a lot of good help. Coming up this evening is the Evenings LALATE at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time with more developments. I expect there will be one on stimulus checks and stimulus packages. As always, go to the front of this channel and hit that alert and subscribe button. It really helps when you subscribe to this channel because if anything happens like today when Mitch's bill died, I'll send out an alert to inform you what has just developed. Also, when you're dropping a comment to this video, I will be able to know you're part of the community because there's a subscribe red button next to your name. If it's not there, then go into the pinned comment and it'll give you an explanation how to ensure you're subscribed publicly. Next, like this video. Liking this video helps the video appear higher in the algorithm so that other people who are looking for a similar topic like this video on rent will find this video before other videos. As always, stay informed, stay motivated, stay smiling, and stay in LA for more.